Dear friends, I lived for 10 years in Los Angeles. I know the problems there. I was during the revolution, downtown and everything. Don't believe the lies of the media. So, now let's go to Mr. Epstein. They say he knew the most powerful people of the churches, industry, science, politicians, and bankers, and many of them were on his island, Lolita Island, and had a lot of fun with little children. Okay, but let's see first the accusations. It says that over the course of many years, Jeffrey Epstein, the defendant, sexually exploited and abused dozens of minor girls at his homes in Manhattan, New York, and Palm Beach, Florida, among other locations. Lolita Island too, of course, and so forth. Now, in particular, at least in or about 2002, up to and including at least in or about 2005, Jeffrey Epstein enticed and recruited and caused to be enticed and recruited. By whom? By politicians, bankers, priests, by scientists. Hawking was there too, they say. They have pictures, they have videos. Okay. Moreover, in order to maintain and increase his supply of victims, listen well now, Epstein also paid certain of his victims to recruit additional girls to be similarly abused by Epstein. Now, we should add that big banks like BlackRock, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, and others financed him. And then later they paid for the victims. That tells us everything. Were those banks, those people, were the leaders too, guests on Lolita Island of Jeffrey Epstein? And we have here in Germany, we have, excuse me when I say it, the leader of BlackRock was just the one who visited Trump. Mr. Merz, our new chancellor, was leader of BlackRock. And BlackRock then put Epstein to the Deutsche Bank, which is Ackermann. I mean, okay. In this way, Epstein created a vast network of underage victims, for him to sexually exploit in locations including New York and Palm Beach and Lolita Island. And these victims were as young as 14 years old. And at the time they were abused by Epstein, and for various reasons, often particularly vulnerable to exploitation. He intentionally sought of minors and knew that many of his victims were in fact under the age of 18, including because in some instances minor victims expressly told him their age. Okay. They say that Melania, you know about whom I'm talking? Melania, that she was, how can I say it cautiously? That she was she was on Lolita Island. She was one of the kids who then later were abused and then came in contact with Trump. That's what they say. That's what the more and more documents prove. Okay. In creating and maintaining this network of minor victims in multiple states who sexually abused and exploit, Jeffrey Epstein worked and conspired with others. conspired with others. What does that mean? Well, Hawking was there. That's what they say is a fact. And let's see. And I will show you now video evidence of what happened. Let's see first. Victims were initially recruited to provide massages to Epstein and to his huge friends. To whom too? To Trump. They say perhaps to the leader of BlackRock, of Deutsche Bank, of JP Morgan. You know where the leaders of BlackRock were. Okay. He paid his victims hundreds of dollars in cash, but the leaders of the banks where he had his bank account, where his billions were laying, he said, come to me, Alan, huh? Well, then sooner or later, they couldn't take it anymore, so they switched it from BlackRock to Deutsche Bank. So. Dear friends, how can I say it cautiously? When a victim arrived at New York residence, there was first a New York residence, not immediately Lolita Island, she typically would be escorted to a room with a massage table where she would perform a massage on Jeffrey Epstein. That feels so good. Okay. These victims were as young as 14 years of age. And Epstein typically would also masturbate during these sexualized encounters. That's on the documents. And ask victims to touch him while he masturbated. And touch victims' genitals with his hands or with sex toys. This is in the papers. So, did he have big bank bosses who liked the same activities? That's what they say. And to further facilitate his ability to abuse minor girls in New York, he asked and enticed certain of his victims to recruit additional girls to perform massages and similarly engage in sex acts with Epstein. Well, if that would have been him alone, that's bad too, but they say most of the most powerful politicians, bankers, priests, scientists were on his island, having massages. Okay. In addition, when we now come to the Palm Beach residence, in addition to recruiting and abusing minor girls, Jeffrey Epstein created a similar network in Palm Beach, Florida, where he owned and controlled another large residence, Palm Beach residence. So, now, he traveled from New York to Palm Beach by bike or by car? No, private jet. And to ensure that he could have the same pleasure in Palm Beach than he had before in New York. And it continued. When a victim initially arrived, she would be escorted to a room. Well, I don't want to go into details here, but Okay. Jeffrey Epstein knew that certain of his victims were underage. Well, that's all now on the shoulders of Jeffrey Epstein. But let's see. Did he have other shoulders to carry his perversion with him? Let me sort of summary. In about 2004, Jeffrey Epstein enticed and recruited multiple minor victims. Yeah? And in about 2005. He located in the Southern District of New York, and on behalf of Epstein, an employee placed a telephone call to minor victim 2 in order to schedule an appointment for minor victim to engage in paid sex acts with Epstein. Well, they always say Epstein, and so what? Where were the Pope? Where was the Pope? Where were the bankers of Deutsche Bank and of BlackRock and of other banks, JP Morgan and so forth? Where were they? It says they were there too, many of them, enjoying these pleasures. Okay. As a result of committing the offense alleged to count 2, Jeffrey Epstein shall forfeit to the United States pursuant entitled, blah, 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 blah. That's what their institutional English. So, I could continue now with the official data, but that's not the point. They always mention a Jeffrey Epstein. Why don't they mention the bosses of BlackRock, of German BlackRock, of Deutsche Bank, where they switched their accountant so they would, and later they paid millions of dollars to the victims. Why does the bank pay millions of dollars to the victims of somebody who has an account there? Why? They must have known something about it. Did they share it? We live in an insane world, ruled by insane people. May the Book of Light save us. And there you see the original scripture. There it is. Dictated to me. And here you see one of the many scriptures. But here, divine message from true God. And it's all karma. From Epstein, it's karma. It's your karma, it's my karma. It's karma of BlackRock. It's karma of Deutsche Bank. It's karma of Hawking. It's karma of the Pope, of everybody. Big bodies. Let's see if it's true. Big bodies. No? Oh, I never knew Epstein. I just met him once. Trump said, I just met him once. Yeah. Let's see if you just met him once. They were big bodies. Let's see if that's true. What's that here? Well, let's see. And there he is, Epstein. Look, and now Trump almost kisses him. He almost kisses him. He whispers something in his ear. Ooh. Did you see her? She's hot. Okay, no problem. I'm just saying here, dear friends, that he says he never knew him, or he knew him just a little bit. No. No, there was more. There was more. They were big bodies. Also on Lolita Island. On Lolita Island, I ask you. Listen, dear friends, I'm not a holy man. I'm Christian Anders. I had my own life extreme. Not in this way, but you see, when you are in power, they permit you everything, but karma doesn't forget. I lived 4.5 years with Sean Connery and his wife in Marbella, in their house, Malibu, Casa Malibu. These were wonderful people. But through that stage and possibility, I met many others in Los Angeles. I met them all. Glenn Ford, Robert Wagner, Natalie Wood made spaghetti for me, and so forth and so on. Dear friends, I am just against one thing. We should not put all the load of something bad on one person. If that is so, this poor girl, excuse me when I say it, has now to pay for all the sins, you can say, maybe, of what the others. She just worked in his, and she said, okay, I know the powerful in the world, and I'll send them to your island, to your Lolita Island. Huh? Dear friends, the truth doesn't wait. Doesn't wait. And here we have somebody else. Look at this. Prince Andrews. Now the corrupt monarchy in Britain, who enslaved in colonies the people, punished them, tortured them, killed them. I tell you what, his mother will rot in hell, first of all, because she agreed with all the colonies, the enslavement of these people. And her mother, this old shrapnel, she's waiting for her in hell. Don't believe. The monarchy, these people should all put in jail. And this poor guy who can't control his desire and urges, well, he was a client of Epstein. And now nobody wants to have to know anything of it. Well, there are videos and pictures out there that show Epstein with the Pope, for instance. What does he have to do with the Pope? Was the Pope his client? Well, we know of Pope Paul that in Poland, the people wanted to beat him up and said, keep your hands off our children. And here is Epstein, short before he hung himself. He is finished. That guy's finished. Donald Trump said about him, he's a genius, and so forth and so on. Later he said, no, I didn't know, no. But did he really hang himself? Or was he hanged? There's the question, dear friends. Did the powerful of this world say, we got to get rid of that guy? But then what about his secretary? But dear friends, why do I talk about all this? Because we need a complete change in the entire world. This is a hell of a world, yeah. We live in an insane world ruled by insane people. Man should not rule over man. Then what should rule? The Book of Light, dictated to me in Los Angeles while I was homeless under the bridge. I tell you something. The blood will split meters high. The eyes will not be able for the tears and not to cry anymore until finally, we are united by the Book of Light, Book of Books, and Savior of mankind.